This is Courtney Mason, and this is the Millennial Dreamers podcast, where I profile successful millennial entrepreneurs, creatives, artists, and thought leaders who are navigating the unconventional life of their dreams and profiting from their passion. I also share inspiration and career tips to help you take the leap of faith and go after your dreams. There's often a misconception that the biggest barrier to success is capital or access, when in reality, one of the biggest barriers is one's mindset. The stories that we tell ourselves can prevent us and keep us from achieving all the things. Today's guest has achieved tremendous success through his numerous businesses, but it is his mission to help many others get out of their own way and create wealth for themselves. Notepads are recommended for this one. Let's get into it. Millennial Dreamers, today on the podcast, we have Malcolm MJ Harris. MJ is an internationally recognized financial services CEO and motivational success teacher. He has built a multi-million-dollar enterprise through National Care Financial Group, which has become one of America's largest African-American-owned financial services firms. He's been featured by Oprah, USA Today, Black Enterprise, Huffington Post, Prudential, and Ebony, just to name a few. MJ has made millions and is now helping others learn how to make more money, how to be successful in their careers, and how to grow their existing businesses through his program, the Wealth Building Success Mentorship Group. Not only that, he's a global speaker who is traveling around the world, motivating the masses to live their very best lives. MJ, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be on today with you, Courtney, as well as all of the millennial dreamers out here. Let me tell you, inside of every dreamer who's listening right now is the potential to become a mogul, the potential to achieve their dreams, the real potential just to be able to soar. And I think that this kind of programming really helps position people to be able to accomplish their fullest potential. So it's a pleasure to be here today.
I so appreciate it. And I'm just going to say, full disclosure, I'm having a fan out moment because literally I've watched your videos on finance and motivation for years now. And you always give the need to know information straight with no chaser. And I think the very first video that I saw of you, it was one where you were basically saying plain and simple, stop going broke to impress people. And I think you said it more eloquently than I am. You basically said stop depleting your wealth and ability to grow wealth trying to impress other people. So everything you said really just hooked me in, and I've been following for years. So full disclosure, everyone, I am a fan of MJ, but for those of you who might be unfamiliar, give our listeners a glimpse into your background.
Absolutely. I always tell people this, whenever I'm meeting people, I was at Sundance last weekend, and people have asked me, what do you do? What do you do? And I never know how to answer. So I say, I'm self-employed. And I said, but I own a couple companies. All right. So essentially what I do is I'm a motivational success teacher, and I'm also a global entrepreneur. And I've been very fortunate to be able to start multiple businesses that all connect into each other through one core thread, which is helping people to live their best life. And so, for example, one of my biggest businesses is called National Care Financial Group. What that is a financial services company, which, as you mentioned, is one of America's largest African-American-owned financial services companies. We have over 1,300 team members who sell insurance products on behalf of our company. So it's absolutely wonderful to be able to serve so many people in that particular way. One of the other things that I do, which a lot of people have come to know me for, is that I do motivational success teaching. So what that means is that I have about 9 online courses out and 5 subscription-based online communities out. I do live events. I do all kinds of things, tours, and so on. And basically what I'm doing is I'm producing products, so like online courses and things of that nature, that are designed to help people live their best life spiritually, financially, and emotionally. So rather you are looking to learn how do you grow wealth, and as we mentioned, I've got a mentorship program that helps people out with that. Or you're looking to understand how do I just love myself more? How do I increase my own self-esteem so I can start demanding of my relationships the type of treatment that I desire and deserve? Regardless of where you're looking to learn how to live your best life, I create digital as well as live programming to help usher you into that new level that you desire to get to.
Awesome. Now that's something that I wasn't familiar with. I didn't know that you had that many workshops and online programs that you offered. So
Hmm.
that's something amazing to me. But when did you kind of know that you wanted to become an entrepreneur and really be self-employed?
I chose to become an entrepreneur pretty early on because I thought that I didn't have any other options. So, I've learned disability. And when I was growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in my ability to be what they would call back then a good student. I didn't learn to read until much later. I wasn't that great with math. And so I knew I wanted to make a good living. I knew I wanted to do that because the fact is we grew up with not very much money. So I said, I want to live different than the way I grew up. Now, so I want to make a lot of money, really. And I figured that the best ways to do that was through becoming a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that. But I thought to myself, I'm not going to make it through no medical school, and I'm certainly not going to make it through law school, not with the way elementary and high school and then middle school went. And so what occurred to me at a certain point, and just so grateful for my mother, was my mother said, baby, why don't you look at becoming an entrepreneur? You have such an imaginative mind. And, through being an entrepreneur, that lets you create businesses. And when you create businesses, you're the boss. You're the boss. So you're not waiting on somebody to hire you or to validate your skill sets. You're the boss. You're in control. And I thought to myself, well, that sounds really practical. If I'm the boss, then I don't have to worry about, feeling insufficient because of the fact that I was a little bit of a late bloomer. And so that's what initially led me to want to be an entrepreneur, was just to be able to kind of to be able to control the circumstances that my income came from. And now as time went along and I started to realize that entrepreneurship could make you an abundance of cash flow and an abundance of wealth, I thought to myself, this is such a beautiful path. I said, so it's not enough for me just to want to be an entrepreneur and make a lot of money. I want to be an entrepreneur from helping people, because I said, listen, within my spirit, I know that business is not easy. It's not easy at all. And so if you're going to do this thing day in, day out, then you need to be doing something that's fulfilling to you. And for me personally, the most fulfilling thing that I can ever do is help people to live a better life. So I have dedicated all of my businesses towards that core purpose of helping people live their best life. I've heard Oprah say this a couple of times, where she says, when you bring her something into, an idea for a product, an idea for a talk show topic. Well, back when she used to do talk shows, she would ask her team, what is the intention? What is the intention of it? So for me, no matter what I do, it always comes down to one intention: helping people live their best lives.
Awesome. And that really is so true, because within everything that all the content that you put out online or put into the atmosphere, it's always seems to be centered around helping other people, helping us to think about what are the barriers, not just financially, but emotionally. What's keeping us from really elevating to that next level? So I see that in everything that you do, and it really is so important. And I'm glad that you mentioned that your mom kind of pushed you in that way. And it's so important to have support systems. So how important do you think having a strong support system is to someone who's looking to follow their dream, whether they're trying to be an entrepreneur or just want to do anything that might be considered unconventional? How important is having a support system, do you think, to that journey?
Your support system is everything. Okay. Now, I know that for a lot of people, they say, I don't have a support system around me in that way. All the people around me just basically are not, they're not accomplishing the kind of goals that I want to accomplish, nor do they desire to go within that direction, which is why I created my mentorship program. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But having the right support system is so key, because at the end of the day, you're going to need encouragement. Here's what I've seen within my own path, and I've seen this within other people's paths too. One of the most exciting parts about dreaming is the dreaming part. When you're sitting there and you're imagining the future that you want for yourself, and you're fantasizing about what life is going to be like when you start to accomplish your goals. That's the most fun part. But here's the thing: the minute that the rubber meets the road and you got to start working and you start hitting unexpected roadblocks and you start dealing with the challenges and just real difficulties that come with changing your life, for so many people it discourages them and it takes them off the path. But here's what I've recognized as the difference between the people who stay on the path and the people who get off the path and they go back into their life of discontentment. We call these people flaky. And we say, oh, she's so flaky. She can't stick with nothing. The difference between flaky Felicia right? And the person who's accomplishing everything, the biggest difference between those two is a support system. Because at the end of the day, when you have the right support system around you, your support system won't let you get off the path, okay? Because here's the thing, they're with you along the way. They're giving you advice along the way. They're telling you, hey, have you considered this? What about this? When you say, I'm tired and I'm going to give up, they say, no, you're not, girl. You're going to take a break and you're going to keep on going. When you think about giving up, you're seeing them continue to push forward. So that motivates you to keep on going. And so to me, your support system is everything because mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it gives you what you need to keep moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. Surrounding yourself with people who are an inspiration and who can help you. I know so many people have negative Nancy's around, and you're thinking like, why do I have all of this energy or these feelings like I can't do this or I can't do that? It's like it could be because the people that are around you just aren't supporting you, and you have to really dig within yourself to find the inspiration to keep moving forward. So I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Well, I know that a lot of the listeners that knew that I was having someone who was in the financial services industry or had expertise in the industry wanted to have some questions. Before I get into the listener questions, I had one that I thought of myself. You know, a lot of millennials really do desire to at least try their dream or something that interests them. But the first thing that they'll say to themselves is, I just can't afford it, right? I'm already living paycheck to paycheck, and I can't really figure out how to break that cycle and free up some cash to put into my side hustle or my dream job or something that I want to do. So how can one avoid that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck?
Well, you know what I always think to myself is when people say I can't afford it, the first thing I always think to myself was how much real research is you do into how much it's going to cost you to change your life. When I think about it, you know, for me, the first thing that really started to make me money was my insurance license. And for me, I went to a course at a Holiday Inn in I think it was Gaithersburg, Maryland. Cost about $150. And then I took the insurance licensing test, which may have been $75. I don't remember what it was at that time. But nonetheless, I did that. So when you think about it, for about $200 some odd dollars, I was able to create a platform for myself to make unlimited income. And, you know, when people say, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I ask, have you done the research to even identify how much it's going to cost you to take the first step towards going after your dreams? Have you done the research, or are you just saying you can't afford it? Because, see, here's the thing. Our words have power, but our words also, we can get into a habit of saying the same kind of things. I'm broke, I can't afford. And the reality is that we can afford it, but we're telling ourselves the same stories over and over and over and over again. That really indoctrinates our mind into believing that we have less power than we actually do have. The second thing that I always want people to think about also is, can you afford not to do this, okay? Because here's the thing. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, then you need to do everything in your power, sacrifice what you got to sacrifice, okay? Do what you got to do in order to get this extra money so that you can go ahead and invest in your future. It is like playing Russian roulette with your finances to live paycheck to paycheck. What if you lose your job? We just saw at the federal shutdown, you know, all these people, we always saw the federal government as the most secure workplace. Back when I grew up, we called them good government jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, girl, you got a good government job. Because we thought that those people who could never get fired and always have a check coming in. But the reality is that stuff fall apart. And you got people making $150,000 a year lined up at food banks just to get some food. So my question again is, can you afford not to do this? Okay, we got plenty of areas within our finances that we can cut back. Okay, you know, the reality is that maybe for the next couple of weeks you need to bring lunch with you. Okay, maybe for a little bit of time you need to stop giving money to all these other people. You know, because a lot of these people they say I can't afford something, but when you look at what they do with their money, they're the bank of their family. People always coming to them for money, coming to them for a loan, coming to them for stuff. Maybe you need to stop doing that. You know, maybe you need to sacrifice for a period of time. You know, because you'd be surprised with just a couple $100, what a couple $100 can do to position you to be able to change your life. I'm living proof of this.
Yes, and the power of the tongue is so right, so true to that. It's like stop speaking that negativity of your life and start thinking about how to step outside of the box and find those little ways to pour into something else that you're trying to do. That makes a whole lot of sense. So, in the simplest terms, what do you think is like the best way to start to build wealth for someone who's like, all right, I want to not live in a rut. I'm going to start making changes. Like what's the best way that one who, even if they're not living paycheck to paycheck, they might have extra income or additional income, but what's the best way that they can begin the process of building wealth?
There are so many ways to build wealth. I just think about my neighbors where I live in Los Angeles. So one of my neighbors, he owns tons of gyms all over the U.S. I mean, he's rich as I don't know what. And with him, the way he got started was that he used to be a physical trainer. So he used to just do training for people. And then one day he decided, you know what? What if I take this a little bit higher and bigger? And I go ahead and just rent out a small facility for a couple of days a week and start doing classes. And that grew and it grew and it grew. And now this man has a conglomerate of gyms and fitness facilities. The reality is that there are so many ways to make so much money. I have another neighbor not too far down from me where he makes a ton of money because they make cardboard boxes of all things. All right, people need cardboard boxes. So when people ask me what's the best way to become wealthy, there really is no best way because there's a million ways to become wealthy. What I always tell people to do is first start with your mindset, and trust me, this is going to go someplace because without the right mindset, you can't take advantage of any of the paths. Here's the thing that we have to recognize, okay, is that our mind is the greatest wealth creation tool that we have. I'm going to say it again. Our mind is our greatest wealth creation tool that we have, because at the end of the day, when you look at every single wealthy person out there, when you look at every single money-making business, it all started as one thing. It all started as one thing, which was a thought. And that thought turned into action, and those actions turned into a business, and that business turned into profit, okay? So we have to look at our mindset first. First thing we have to do is we have to get rid of any mindset that's keeping us from believing that we deserve wealth. I grew up in the church, and I loved so much of what I gained from growing up in the church. My moral fabric in terms of how I treat people, how I view the world. Me being a good person. Really, I really do believe I gained that from sitting in those pews every single Sunday morning. I do believe that. But there were also some things that I gained from that environment that were frankly destructive to my path to building wealth. And one of the things that I gained from that path that initially that I had to take apart, I had to get rid of this mindset, was the whole idea that wanting to have wealth, that it was greedy to want that. I remember being taught a scripture when I was growing up that said it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. And it just didn't resonate with me. I said, that don't sound right to me. There's nothing honorable about being poor when the very person sitting on the pulpit ain't poor and they're telling me this. So why should I believe this? You sitting there in the Benz, but I'm supposed to believe that I'm not supposed to have one? That didn't make sense to me, And so one of the things I had to do is I had to give myself permission to detach from certain mindsets that were no longer serving me. And one of the biggest mindsets that wasn't serving me was that it was not good to want to have more. One of the other things I had to do is change within my mindset was to recognize that for every single thought that I thought within my life, on a consistent basis, that it was something that was going to attract or create things within my life that reflected that thought. So I had to raise the level of my thinking. You talked about something earlier where you said, Courtney, people who think I'm broke, I can't afford. I had to get rid of that language. Even when my bank account may have been in a status that didn't show me at my financial best, I still could not use terminology to say I'm broke. I had to literally change my mindset and change the way that I spoke to myself about myself. I did every morning to be able to say, I am wealthy. I am coming into wealth. I am the recipient of all types of opportunities. My cup overflows every single day and every single hour with ideas on how to build more wealth. So let me tell you how this worked out. So I'm not just trying to tell people some cosmic woo-woo-woo kind of stuff where I say, just say positive things and you're going to get rich, because that's not going to happen. What I'm telling you is this. How it worked out for me was through me changing my mindset. I started to see the world differently, right? So as I started to change my mindset and started to change the words that I was saying to myself, I started to see opportunities all around me to build wealth. And here's the thing, not only did I see those opportunities all around me to start building wealth, I felt entitled to those opportunities. So I got rid of the mindsets that told me that I shouldn't have it. I got rid of the mindsets that told me that, because I come from this background and because I don't know nobody and because who has wealth that I shouldn't have. I got rid of the mindsets that told me that, that because I was living paycheck to paycheck, I couldn't change my life. And so I started to see opportunities around me and I was like, oh, wow. They're making a lot of money doing that. Could I try that? Well, I guess I could maybe try it. Let me go to Google and search. How did people do that kind of stuff? I gave myself permission to explore. And that's the whole thing. When you change your mindset, you open your mind to exploration. You open your mind to building new relationships. You open your mind to the things that you need in order to build your path to wealth. For one person, your path to wealth could be doing something within the technology space because that's what's familiar to you. For me, my path to wealth was largely running my mouth because that was what was familiar to me. So when we talk about the best path to wealth, there is no best path to wealth. The best path to wealth is any path that you're willing to commit to, but you're not going to be able to commit to any path until you change your mindset, because commitment is a mindset at the end of the day. So that's really what it comes down to. Change your mindset and believe that everything you desire within your heart, you deserve, and then commit to whatever that path looks like for you.
Exactly. I mean, you are really speaking my language, because that's pretty much the fabric of what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is to help people see others who are really going after, unconventional dreams and doing things and living beyond what we believe is possible sometimes when we have those limiting beliefs. So to have people on who are succeeding tremendously makes it that much easier for me to kind of help and do my part with helping people change their mindset, and also myself, because everything that I do on here and everyone that I talk to, it really helps me as well. So I fully believe in everything that you're saying there. It's like it always starts in our heads, and if we can conceive of it in our minds, then we can hold it in our hands. I truly believe that.
And I love that you mentioned about limiting beliefs. That's really what we're talking about here, is limiting beliefs. Any thought that you think to yourself that limits what you believe that you can accomplish. The reality is that the person who drives down the street every day in a Rolls Royce versus the person who drives down every day, we saw them hoopties when I was growing up, but some old car where, it's just not reflecting their best. Okay, this car is breaking down, just ain't it. The difference between those two people is not ability. It's not that one person's more blessed or favored than the other person. It's not that one person's more lucky. The difference between those two people is that one person has an expectation of what life should produce for them that's different than the other person. And what ends up happening is that because they have an expectation that I should be able to drive this kind of car, what they do is they go out and they identify opportunities, and they position themselves around people who can help them to produce that, okay? At the end of the day, it is our mindset that produces all the outcomes within our life. If you want to change your life, change your mindset.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, one question specifically about entrepreneurs and people who are taking that next step to live the life that they want to live. What's a common mistake that you've noticed, or, with people that you've worked with, that you notice small business owners or new entrepreneurs make starting out in their journey, whether financial or otherwise? What's like a common mistake that you've noticed?
Well, I think there's a couple of them. I would say the most common mistake is that people expect that it's going to happen faster and easier than it's going to happen faster and easier than what it actually is. When I say it, I'm talking about success. Mm-hmm. People expect that success will happen faster and easier than it most likely will happen. The reality is that you can create a massive dream for yourself, and I want you to have a dream that's so big that it scares you. But at the end of the day, it's going to take time to walk it out. And unless you've walked this path before, and most entrepreneurs have not walked this path before, when they're doing something new, it's new for them, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have to readjust some things, And so what ends up happening within all of this is that I think that a lot of people expect it's going to be faster and easier than what it actually is, and then they end up giving up too soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, you got that friend or that family member, maybe it's even one of the people who's listening, where it's like people say, girl, you jump from one path to the next. One week is this business, next month is that business. It feels like you're just going from one thing to the next. What's up with you? And I always say that, often people who we view as the most flaky are people who often just have unrealistic expectations of what success will be and how quickly it will happen. Because the reality is that the people who know how to stick with something are just people who are willing to wait it out and to say, you know what, I'm just going to stick through this thing. So that's a big mistake I see people make, is that they expect it's going to happen faster and easier than what it actually does. I think another mistake that I see people make within entrepreneurs is that they focus on passion over profit. Okay, let me dig a little deeper into that, because I'm all about going after what you're passionate about, and I'm not here to discourage anyone from doing that. But at the end of the day, you got to produce a profit as well. Okay. And so when you're designing a business, it's not just about what business can I do that makes me feel the best. It's about what business can I do that there's going to be the greatest demand for, okay? What are people willing to buy? What do people actually want? And I think that that's something that we have to understand, is that your passion is not going to attract customers. What's going to attract customers is need. Are you offering something that they want? And so I always say, when you're starting a new business and you're looking at what to do, first look at where is the greatest need in the marketplace. How can I serve people best where it's clearly proven that people want this, because maybe they're asking for it already, or maybe they're already buying it for other businesses, and I know I can do it faster or cheaper than these other businesses. I can just do it better in some way, shape, or form. Start there as your focal point. And then after you narrow down to what are some ideas that are economically viable, then at that point decide which of these am I most passionate about, or which of these can I apply the greatest level of passion to. At the end of the day, business is about making money, okay? Then you have to make sure that you make money first. I hear so many people where, they come to me and they say, MJ, I got this fabulous business idea. What do you think about it? And they explain it to me, and, I'm very direct. I shoot straight from the hip. Mm-hmm. I say, well, baby doll, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but how is that going to make any money? Oh, well, I just thought this was a good idea. Well, baby, no, it's an idea that sounds good, but just because it sounds good doesn't make it a good idea. How is this going to make money? Have you ever heard anybody express to you that they were looking for socks for raccoons? No, they haven't. So why would you dare create a business about that? I'm using that just as a simple example. Right. My point is, people come up with some ideas that just sound good to them, but they're not about the business of actually making money. So I would say that's another mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make. A third one, and I would say is probably the final big mistake that I see, is that they're not agile enough. The reality is that, when I started out my business, my initial plan was, I said, I'm going to start an insurance agency, maybe have about 6 or 7 people on my team, get a nice little office in some little strip mall in the suburbs, and just live a nice life, and very nice life, owning a small business. Nothing wrong with that at all. But what ultimately happened was that I found I was a really good recruiter. And people kept coming up to me. I remember I did this workshop one time, spent all this money to do a workshop at like one of these, like a Hilton hotel or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And to get people to want to buy my products, right? And I've had free food. I went all out, probably $1,300 I spent on this workshop to do. Anyway, all these people showed up. I had only one person come to me after the fact saying, I want to buy your products. Everybody else came to me, how can I join your team? I want to join your team. I want to join your team. How can I join your team? And I was so over it. And I went to my grandmother. I said, Grandma, I'm trying to get these people to buy insurance. Only one person to buy insurance. They ain't even going to cover what I spent today. And everybody else is talking about they want to be on my team. I'm not looking for them team members. And she said, you fool, you went out there looking to catch fish, and you caught fishermen. Get those people. They want to sell your product for you. Mm-hmm. I said, well, ain't that something? And so I started focusing on recruitment heavily while also focusing on servicing clients. Now, for me, I've always been big on going with the flow of what God or the universe, however you want to view it, is trying to speak to me. Go with the flow of that. I don't view difficulties and challenges as a bad thing. I view them as a new message to me that's saying, hey, maybe you should consider an alternative approach or a different direction. And so one of the things I see a mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, especially new entrepreneurs, is that they get so fixated on one idea or one approach. And when things are not happening in that way, they're beating themselves over their head, spending up their money, taking out loans, trying to figure out how to make this initial idea work, rather than saying, no, where's the flow pushing me? Where's God pushing me? Where's there ease within? Where am I seeing the opportunity at? And then adjusting their business model to accommodate opportunity rather than sticking with what their original idea was. We have to accommodate opportunity. We can't just stick with our initial ideas. And I think that's a huge thing that sets businesses that go bankrupt apart from businesses that succeed. Simply, how agile is the business owner?
Oh, well, I feel a little triggered there because I'm just now learning more to be agile in situations where it's like you think that you're just convinced that this is going to be the best way to do something, and you just have done your research, and you believe that I know this is going to work, and if it doesn't quite pan out the way that you believe it to go, then for me, I will say sometimes I'm like, what's happening? Why isn't it working out the way that I think it should? So I'm glad that you said that. Be agile and go with the flow. So that's a mental note for myself. Mm-hmm. But so I think, I'll just hit also a few finance specific questions that a few of our listeners wrote in about, and then we'll talk about your mentorship program, because I want to know more about it as well. So a few of our listeners, they wrote in and they asked, one in particular said, what are some tips for managing like credit card debt? One listener said, what's the best way to use credit cards? Should I limit my expenses to just gas and travel and things of that nature, or should I be using credit cards to pay all of my monthly expenses and then just pay off everything at the end of the month? So they want to know, like, what are the best practices for credit card usage so that, they can avoid as much as possible going into substantial credit card debt.
So here's one of the things I tell people, because a lot of times people come to me and they say, oh, well, credit cards are good because of the fact that, you can use them and build up points for travel, or you can use them for this and use them for that. But my thing is this: most people overestimate their ability to manage credit cards. Most people are not at the level to be able to manage using credit cards in that particular way. And so with that understood, what I tell the vast majority of people, I say you don't need to be dealing with credit cards at all. Have one just in case you need it. But at the end of the day, to me, credit should be used as a tool to help you build wealth and not as a tool to simply supplement your income, all right? So when you think about it, within business and within wealth building, I may utilize credit by way of a loan or anything like that as a way to be able to maybe finance a new project that I'm doing, right? Because I know that I'm going to be able to make a huge return on that. That's going to exceed whatever the level of interest is that I have to pay on that money. So essentially, I'm able to keep my cash that I already have and utilize credit to go after this new opportunity. So I'm leveraging other people's money by way of credit to go after this opportunity. That's one way of doing it. But in terms of using credit for gas and shopping and all that other stuff, I don't think that's the best use of credit. I think it's a misuse of credit because I just don't think it's a good way to go. Unless you are someone who knows for a fact that you're going to pay that bill off in full at the end of the month without question or pause, it's not for you to do. What I recommend is that people take their credit cards and they put that thing in a drawer somewhere. And if you're looking to build up your credit, then maybe you have one or two bills that you use that go directly against your credit card every month, maybe a utility bill or something like that goes against your credit card every month, and you just pay that bill off, you pay that credit card balance off in full at the end of the month. But it should not be used as something that you're using for incidental and miscellaneous expenses throughout the month, because it can create a scenario that can become very slippery for you. I was someone where I was a cautionary tale. I ran up over $100,000 in credit card debt in my 20s because I was misusing it. The thing for me was I was making over $100,000 a year, and as I started making more and more money, they kept giving me more and more credit. And so it started off with, we'll give you a $5,000 balance. And next, I run up that balance, right? Not on purpose. I said, I'm going to pay it off. And before you know it, the balance is high. And then you get a new offer in the mail saying, oh, well, why don't you go ahead and transfer your balance to this new card, this $10,000 balance card, transfer it over here, and you can pay it all off with 0% interest within 12 months. Okay, great, let me do that. And I would have every great intention of doing that, but then ultimately I would end up not paying that off fully and still using the old card. So now I've doubled or tripled the debt, and it goes on and on and on. It's a cycle that would happen. Now, I may sound like an extreme in terms of what I had gone through, but so many people deal with the exact same thing. We're living in a credit epidemic within our country. And the only way for us to stop any epidemic is for us to detach from utilizing the very drug, I should say, that put us in that epidemic. Credit is something that can be used for many productive purposes, but for most people, they don't have the financial management skills to utilize credit appropriately. And so to me, I say, until you know that you got that level of skill to utilize credit where you can use it and pay it off in full by the end of the month, because there's no magic bullet to it. Whatever you use, you need to pay off in full by the end of the month. Unless you know you can do that consistently, you probably should not be using credit at all. You can build your credit through many other ways that don't involve having a credit card. I have an online course called MJ Fix My Credit. And within this course, I teach people about how to build their credit, literally how to build their credit without having a credit card at all. Because that's a complete mistruth that you need a credit card to build your credit. You don't. I can show you how to do it. People, if you're listening right now and you're interested, just go to www.mjfixmycredit.com. That's www.mjfixmycredit.com, and you can see all about that course.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I've had several conversations with people who are saying, like, I just really need to fix my credit. It's horrible. I've gotten to, we're millennials, so it's like I've gotten to 30 years old and now my credit is shot and I can't do this and I can't do that. And so I know that is definitely going to be a helpful tool. MJ Fix My Credit. go and check that out if you need assistance with your credit. Also, another question is, when would you recommend entrepreneurs start to seek out small business loans if they're looking for additional financing? At what point in the growth of a business would you recommend that someone seek out such loans?
Well, I think it's going to vary for each person. For me personally, I've never taken out a small business loan. But what I can say is that ideally, in my opinion, before you go take out a loan, what I think is the ideal way to go is to see, is there a way that you can start your business and do something within your business that can create enough cash flow to finance whatever that next step is. So for me, we started selling insurance. We use the insurance revenue to finance the next step, which was starting my production company. That's how we financed it. When I would make money, I would reinvest it in the business, start my production company, and so on. So if you can self-finance yourself, that's always going to be better because, loans come with stipulations, they come with interest. And if for whatever reason you're not able to pay back that loan because, let's say, the business is not as successful as you would like, in most cases for new businesses, the loans have to be personally guaranteed by you. So even if you have a corporation, we think of corporations as a way to sort of shelter us financially from some risk that comes with being in business. But banks are very smart. They're not going to just let your corporation shield you. You're going to have to personally guarantee that. So that means that they can still come after your personal assets if for whatever reason that business is not able to pay back those loans. So I say before you take on that potential liability, that risk really, is there a way for you to create cash flow with your business and utilize the business's cash flow to finance itself? I'm really big on that these days. People come to me with ideas and say, "Ooh, let's try this, let's try that." And I say, well, if you can't show me how this idea can produce enough cash flow to finance the growth of what you're talking about, I'm not interested, because if it requires me to come out of my own pocket to do it, that's just not what I'm doing. I've been in business too long to just keep taking those types of risks. Cash flow should be the thing that finances growth, in my opinion. However, if you're moving into an area that requires requires more capital than the business can self-finance initially, then I would say you may want to consider a loan. Also, consider is investment an option for you as well. There are different forms of investment. There's obviously going to someone and saying, "Hey, can you invest in my business?" But there are also other forms of investment. Let's say that you are a business and you want to, I'm just creating an example here. Let's say that you want to manufacture something, some kind of specific product or whatever, and you say, "I need a loan as a way to create as a way to purchase the machinery that can allow me to produce whatever this product is." Well, another option that you may want to consider, be creative, is look for a business that already has that type of machinery, that's already doing something similar, and going to them and saying, "Hey, can I work with you guys to maybe lease the use of your machinery, during hours when you're not utilizing it in order to produce what I need to produce? Or can I contract your company and pay you guys to produce for me? That way I'm not having to put out the capital, and at least initially, to purchase all that machinery myself." And so what I have found is that you can avoid having to take out loans for major expenses if you find other businesses that do something complementary, and looking at how can you create a relationship with them to contract them, or for that matter, partner with them to be able to access what you need. So I'm all about creative financing rather than going to the bank for a loan. That's just not something that I'm in favor of. As you can see, I'm not anti-credit, but I'm not someone who would promote credit as the first option.
Yes. And getting creative, that is so important, because I think when you have an idea and you're excited about it, sometimes we can bite off more than we can chew. And you're just like, I'm just going to go out and buy everything that I need, instead of saying, how can I be savvy about this and start off by leasing it, or start out, like you said, by contracting with someone else who already has spent the money and the capital to get everything that you need. I think that's important. And I love the idea of just really thinking outside of the box in terms of how you can achieve the goals that you have, and not just get stuck on one way of doing something, but you allow yourself to open yourself to the different possibilities. So that's
Exactly.
great. That's great. And the very last question, really, I think you touched on it before, was just really how can you use your full-time job as a means to support your entrepreneurial goals. And I think you briefly mentioned it before, was that your job can be a way of financing the things that you want to do. That question is one that I think you may have touched on before, but do you have any other thoughts about that?
No, I think that that's really it. I think a lot of people get discouraged by their full-time jobs because they feel like it's something that's restricting their ability to access entrepreneurship. They say, I got to go into this job every day. I got to do that. And I always say, exactly what you just mentioned. Utilize your full-time job as a way to finance it. Don't think of your job as a job. Think of your job as a financier. You see where I'm going? Mm-hmm. They're here to finance your path. And when you go in there, one of the people I was talking to within my mentoring program, she was saying to me, says, I find it hard at my full-time job because I go in there and I give so much of my time and energy to the work itself that I don't have the mental capacity to do anything else, And I say, well, hold on. If you know you're building a business and you know you're going to leave that job at some point in time, why are you trying to perform at the level of a 10? Just focus on going to that job and meeting the job requirements, okay? Mm-hmm. Go in there and focus on being the best 6 that you can be, okay? You do just enough to stay below the radar, okay? But not too much, okay? You just meet your job requirements and only give them exactly what they need. Don't volunteer for no extra projects, all right? Don't go above and beyond. Don't pick up the slack for your coworkers. Do only what you need to do so that you can have the mental capacity as well to do what you have to do. I have a video out where I talk about, doing your side hustle while at your full-time job. And, of course, any advice I give, I don't know the nuances of your situation. So don't go out here and take my advice and get fired. Okay. You've grown. Okay. I'm just telling you anecdotally what I did, for myself. But one of the things I used to bring my iPad and my little computer to work with me. And I had my own little Wi-Fi plan, my phone was a hotspot. Mm-hmm. I would go into that job, Courtney, and let me tell you this. I would go in there in the mornings. What I would do was I would do just enough work, get the emails out the way or whatever. Sometimes I would do the emails and I wouldn't send them immediately. That's the problem. Don't send out stuff immediately and make people think you're working all day. So I would get my emails all scheduled. You see where I'm going? And then what I would do was pull up my iPad right behind the desk. I position myself so nobody could see me. Baby doll, I was on there selling insurance. You hear what I'm saying? And when a client would text me or email me and say, hey, MJ, can you give me a call? I just step into the conference room down the hall. There's always one conference room that somebody not using. Step right in there and get right on the phone and call them. I was doing everything I needed to do from my full-time job. When my boss would walk by, I just put the thing in the desk. I say, yes, how can I help you? Okay, yeah, no problem, honey. I'll take care of that for you and get right back to my work. They thought I was the most productive person on earth. No, I wasn't. I knew that within my full-time job at best, it only required about 2 hours of my attention in reality each day. And so I would just do everything I could early in the day and then just schedule it to send out throughout the day. Whenever they come by my desk and say, MJ, what are you working on today? I say, oh, my God, I'm just so overwhelmed. And I would make it sound like I was so busy so they wouldn't give me nothing else. And then I would go right back to doing whatever else I was doing. I did that for a good year or so until I finally left my job. And so you got to work that thing. You got to twerk it. You have to make this situation work for you, and that's how you work a full-time job to be a platform for you to launch your business.
Yes. Don't think of it negatively. Like changing your mindset about your circumstances. And it's all about perception. Like if you perceive it negatively, then it will start to become a negative thing that's sucking your time and not allowing you to do the things that you want. But if you get creative and change the way you think about it, it can really help you in the long run. So I love that. So now to go into your program, because I want all of our listeners to know more about how they can work with you. So tell us about your Wealth Building Success Mentorship Program and what participants can expect to learn from being your mentee.
Yes. So let me tell you this. I've been in business for a long time. This is my 10th year on camera doing my videos, okay? And people have been reaching out to me so much throughout the year saying, MJ, can you mention me? MJ, can you mention me? Because here's the thing. The smart people, the people who know that they want to be successful, they know that they need a mentor. They know that they need that person in their network who can provide them with guidance and lessons to be able to help them get to their goals faster and avoiding common pitfalls. And so I would have people reach out to me constantly asking about that. And so a while ago, over a year ago, I created a mentorship program, but I only let in a handful of people into the program. We wouldn't advertise it. It was a very small program, and it was only for hand-picked folks. And what ended up happening was it's been going great, but people kept reaching out. And I said, listen, I want to be able to serve people at the highest level possible. How can we do that? So I work with my team, and we created my Wealth Building and Success Mentorship Program, which is essentially an extension of that original mentorship program that was created. How the program works is just so fantastic because you can be anywhere in the world and access this program. We have an online community, number one, that folks can join on to. And within this online community, I'm constantly posting videos. I'm constantly posting lessons. I'm talking to the members of that community, giving advice, giving feedback. We're in community with each other. We really are connected to each other. So not only are you learning from me, but you're learning from the other high-performing entrepreneurs and professionals who are in the group. And once a month, we have our massive webinar where I'm teaching about a different topic in there. I'm right there on camera. People can ask me questions live on that webinar. It's absolutely fantastic. So not only do you get a huge lesson for the month, you also are able to be able to access me throughout the month by way of the community. In addition to that, I'm so excited. We have a new component of the program that's launching, which is my 90-day business development and wealth building intensive. And so what ends up happening is that within this intensive, every couple of weeks, we have a new lesson that comes out where I'm teaching it live that's all designed to help bring you through a path of helping you to see how you can create wealth and how you can improve your business if you happen to be an entrepreneur. But this is not a program that's only for entrepreneurs. It's for anyone who's looking to build wealth or be successful. So I just love it because it's not just a way for you to access me. It's a way for you to access other like-minded people. Within my mentorship program, there are people within the program who literally, they've been able to meet new business partners. They've been able to meet new friends who can support them. And so a lot of people who say, I don't have a good support system around me. Well, guess what? You're going to build that support system within this program. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I'm so excited because for a very limited amount of time, we're allowing people to join the program for 1 month just to try it out so you can determine if it's a good fit for you. All right, so it's no cost to join it for 1 month, just so you can see if it's a good fit for you. And the way you can access that is by going to www.mjismymentor.com, spelled exactly like it sounds. That's www.mjismymentor.com.
I love that. Like, what other program allows you to try it out for an entire month to make sure that it's the right fit for you? That's allowing people to really see the benefit. And of course, you're going to get so much information and so much benefit from it that undoubtedly you will see that you need to be in this program. So listeners, we have to do ourselves a favor and invest in our future. I love the idea of the 90-day intensive because it forces us to really just commit to something, because it can be hard when you're like, I need to find the time. It's like, make it a priority what you're trying to do in elevating yourself and growing your business and growing whatever your dream is. So we have the opportunity to learn from someone who has literally made millions of dollars growing businesses, multiple businesses. And we have an opportunity to learn the keys to that. So please take advantage of it and go to the website and really see what you can learn from this program. I'm super excited about it, and I will be looking into it for myself because I'm ready to really just elevate. And I love supporting what you do. So I'm on board. So
I'll tell you this, Courtney, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate the work that you do to be able to have a platform like this that's reaching millennials and people even beyond the millennial community. You're reaching all these people to be able to help bring them information that can change their life. And so in the same way that you're sowing into your community, I want to sow into you right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you access to my program for free. I'm giving you VIP access into my mentorship program, darling. So look out in your email shortly. You will be able to get access, no cost, darling, because you're sowing into the lives of others. I know what it means. I did the same thing as you. I would do podcasts. I did videos. And you know the reality is a lot of times you're sowing in, and it doesn't always equal a direct monetary response. Just because you do a podcast doesn't mean you're going to get a paycheck the next day for that podcast. But the reality is it's going to continue to pay off. It's going to work out so well for you. I know it has already. That's just going to multiply. But it was the people who sowed into me, really, that helped me to be able to continue my path forward. So I want to know that I sowed into you, and this is my way of doing that today.
I thank you so much. Like, I'm really trying not to get teary because I really just appreciate that so much. And I'm trying to really help as many people as possible. So for you to do that, and you definitely didn't have to, but I really do appreciate that, MJ. That really made my day. I'm like pull it together, Courtney. Do not cry on your podcast, because I'm one to like try to hold my emotions in, and then people are like, you aren't as stoic or strong as you try to put yourself out to be. But thank you. I really, really do appreciate that. And just to end, I always ask guests this one final question. It's, what general advice would you give someone who really just wants to follow their dream, and they might be a little gun shy, or they're trying, but they're not making as much progress as they want to? What's some, final words that you can give them to really push past these feelings that they might be having and really go for it and follow their dreams?
Well, here's the advice I would give you is to, first of all, always remember that what you desire is what you deserve. Rather you believe in God, the universe, or just the power of your own inner will, the reality is that every single desire within your heart is a seed. It was planted there for a reason, because you're the person to accomplish it. It may not, now just because you have a dream, that doesn't mean that you may have every tool and every skill available to you today to accomplish that dream, but you do have the foundation of what it needs, of what's needed for that dream in order for you to go after the path and acquire those tools and those skills. So what I ask people to do is to take your dreams seriously, okay? Your dreams are not just there to carry you through your day so you can have something to imagine about while you're sitting in a job that you don't like. Your dreams are not just there to carry you through a mundane existence that you're not satisfied with. Your dreams are there because what they are the blueprint for what you can become within your life. So take your dreams seriously. And what I want you to do is, all you need to do is just ask yourself, what is the best next step that I can take? Because here's the thing, so many people get so caught up in worrying about, well, I don't know how to get to step Z. And I'm like, well, baby doll, why don't we just focus on how to get to step B for a second here? What's the next step that you can take? For a lot of people, they don't understand the next step for them to take may be joining a mentorship program so they can learn more and ask more questions. For some people, the next step may be going to what I call Google University. You just go to google.com and type in, how do I blank? And then see what's out there to learn what the next step can be for yourself. And then after you've taken that next step, then ask yourself, what is the best next step that I can take from here? So take your dreams seriously, and don't worry about how do I get to the finish line. Just be worried about, how can I take the next step and the next step and the next step? And before you know, I'm telling you this from my own life. You talk about you wanted to cry earlier, Courtney. I want to cry now thinking about this, okay? But I can tell you from my own life that if you can commit to just taking one step at a time, before you know it, you look up and you say, my goodness, look what I've created. I'm not saying this to brag at all, but I think about it. 10 years ago, I started doing videos in my mother's basement, literally my mother's basement, with a lamp as my light. And that lamp was so terrible because it used to create such a harsh shadow behind me, okay? We ain't know nothing about light. You ain't know nothing about nothing, okay? And so I started doing videos in my mother's basement. At best, I would maybe get a couple hundred people who would watch my videos here or there. Most of them was probably my family and friends who just wanted to support me. And I look up today, and today I do over 3 million viewers across digital and televised platforms every single month. I own a full production company. I mean, staff and everything that makes sure that I look good. They dress me in the best. They only put me in the best. Honey, my face is only beat with the best makeup. You hear where I'm going with this? My life has changed dramatically. I'm not saying it to brag. What I'm saying is that I'm the direct byproduct of not luck, not favor, not blessings. I'm the direct byproduct of simply making a commitment to believe in my dreams, to take them seriously, and to take one step at a time. And each time I've done that, it's just produced more and more and more and more for me. And that's what I recommend to people. Just take one step at a time and trust that each step is going to produce more for you.
Just take one step. I mean, that's incredible. And now I know that I'm in good company because, this podcast is Humble Beginnings. I told you off air that I record in my closet, and I've shown followers, this is just how it goes. But I know that the more, if I'm staying consistent with it, the more it'll grow and the more voices will be heard and listeners will be able to benefit from it. So I just know so many people are going to benefit from this. And I thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, because I know you are insanely busy, but it just means a lot to me and everyone who's listening that you would share your insight with us on the podcast. So thank you again for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a good one. Millennial Dreamers, we're signing out. Peace. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. But before you leave, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. We want to know what you think about the episodes that you've heard so far. Let us know by subscribing and leaving a comment. And again, thank you for tuning in. We'll talk soon.